Welcome to the Shadow the Stereotypes podcast, where our intention is to empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. You see, there's never been a shortage of Black male role models. There's only been a lack of exposure of those role models. So our intention is to shine the light on the brothers who are doing amazing and incredible things in the world. And one of those men is a guy by the name of Tyrone Smith. And he's joining us today, and we're going to have a conversation about lots of things, actually. So first of all, let's get Tyrone in the mix. How you doing today, Tyrone?
Man, I'm doing good, Mike, man. How are things going with you?
Oh, things are going well, man. Really looking forward to this conversation today. And so we're going to be talking about several things. We're going to talk about your book and your organization. But first of all, let's give the audience an opportunity just to get to know Tyrone a little bit. So first of all, where are you from?
I'm actually born and raised here in Houston, Texas.
All right. And so tell us a little bit about your family, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
So I'm the youngest of three boys. I'm the youngest of three boys. My mom didn't finish middle school. My dad didn't finish high school. So growing up, there was a lot that I had to overcome as an individual. My mom and dad are from East Texas. They're both from a small town called Jasper, Texas. And so my parents moved from Jasper, Texas, here to Houston in the early 70s, where I was actually born and raised in the inner city of Houston, the 3rd Ward. I actually grew up in an environment, man, where people told me I wouldn't accomplish or do or be anything in life. And so here it is. Mom didn't finish middle school. Dad didn't finish high school. They moved from this small country town because Houston afforded more opportunities for them financially. And so being the youngest of three boys, there's a lot that I actually have to overcome being the baby boy in the family.
Nice. So I want you to name a woman who inspires you.
A woman that inspires me. I would say a woman that actually inspires me, Mike, would have to be my mother. You know, here it is, an individual who didn't finish middle school. She started working at the age of 14. She was always determined. She always worked hard. She never would quit when it came to actually providing for her family. So I'm truly indebted to my mom for the great sacrifices that she actually made in my life for me to be the man who I actually am today.
Nice, nice. Nothing like that mother's love, man, I tell you.
Nothing like that mother's love, man.
That mother's love. So name a male role model who supported you and has empowered you to become the man that you are.
My dad was always in my life, but as far as a male role model who actually supported me, I have to think back to my 8th grade coach, Dennis Brandley. Dennis Brandley was a coach that was actually instrumental when I first met him in the 8th grade in 1987 at Crystal McCullough Middle School. As a kid, people always would challenge me and told me I wouldn't really accomplish anything in life, considering that my mom didn't finish middle school, my dad didn't finish high school, and I was from the inner city. But he was one of those individuals, man, who always had my back in regards to challenging me and inspiring me to be the man who I am. And although my mom and dad was there when I first met Coach Dennis Brandley, I would look and see how he actually carried himself in regards to being a coach, you know, doing things the right way, speaking positively in the lives of all the students that he worked with. I would see how he interacted with his family, with his wife, and with his kids. And I wanted that as a young man because my mom and dad worked so much. He was able to actually fill in the gap to be a true instrumentation in my life with me being the man that I actually am today. We still keep in contact. We talk at least once a week. Every major decision I made in my life, I call him.
Nice. Nice. It's so important to have those mentors and role models in your life. And that's good that you had that coach to rely on. So I want you to name a book that has inspired you.
A book that has inspired me. Man, I would have to say Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life. Rick Warren, Purpose-Driven Life, because I believe in life, man, Mike, that each and every one of us have a defined purpose. But the biggest thing is actually finding your purpose. And when you find your purpose, how can you utilize your purpose to actually will you and drive you to do what it is you desire to do in life? Because I think your purpose is tied to your passion. And once you realize your purpose and your passion in life, I mean, it all goes together, man, for you to be the next level person, the next level thinker, and the next level executor.
Absolutely. Now, with that being said, you like movies?
I like movies.
Name a movie that you love and tell me why you love it.
A movie that I love and tell you why I love it. Man, I would probably have to say, man, you know, one of my favorite movies is Gladiator. The Russell. Okay. That's one of my favorite movies, man. You know, the battle, man, to be the man, to be stripped and taken down to much of nothing, man. Then just a battle back, man, to get back to the top, man, to be a true leader, to support those in need, to take on challenges, you know what I mean, to be unashamed and to take a stand to do what's right, man. I mean, you know, Russell Crowe's my guy, man. Gladiator is one of my favorite movies.
Great choice. Good, really good movie. Now, what does Tyrone do for fun?
Man, what does Tyrone do for fun, man? To be quite honest, I'm actually a movie buff, man. I like this because I do so much, man, when it comes to like, community activism, speaking, writing. I do so much that I like to kind of just lay back, chill, relax, man, and kind of just, watch a movie, man, just kind of just like unplug.
There you go. I'm right there with you, man. A big movie buff myself.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people who are pretty pessimistic about the future. And then there's others who are pretty optimistic. So where do you fall on the spectrum between optimism and pessimism for the future in general?
Man, when I think about the future, man, I see the future as being great. When I think about like my life and my journey and my legacy, I think about, the future has a great deal of hope for generations to come. And I think about, everything I had to overcome to get to where I am now. But I realized that there was so much that I didn't have to deal with because my mom, my dad, my ancestors, they've actually set the stage for you and myself to do what we're actually doing as men. And at the same time, we're trying to take things we've learned, things we've seen, things we've experienced to take it to the next level for the next generation. So I'm really hopeful about the future. I really look forward to the future because I'm intentionally involved in regards to making the impact in the lives of the future with the young people that I actually work with across the city, the state, and the nation.
All right, so now I want you to think about this. Imagine that I have this magic wand, and I'm going to give you this magic wand.
Okay.
And with this magic wand, you can create anything your heart desires. If I gave you that magic wand, what would your life look like 20 years from now?
If you gave me a magic wand and what my life would look like 20 years from now, I think my life would look like having programs or organizations actually set up in different communities to help better parents realize the great capacity they actually have in regards to the children they've actually brought into this world. And I say that because of this, man, because I work with so many young people, man, and they're going through and experiencing so much in life. But I realized a great deal of experiences they actually have in their life are based on where their parents have maybe had shortfalls in their life. And so therefore we have this vicious cycle. So whatever I could do 20 years from now to help families break the vicious cycle, and whatever that vicious cycle is, to do better and be better, to be the best example so they can train their youth to be the example for the future generations, that would be key, man, to have programs and plans in place, man, that are intentional, man, to continue to impact families and communities across the nation. Because I deal with so many young people, as I said before, that are disconnected and disengaged, and it go back to all those learned behaviors they have from home that are really setting them up to fail in life.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great vision to have. If you were to have a magic wand, we need to wave that because we got to make that become a reality.
Right. I'm with you, man.
Got to make that become a reality. So let's talk a little bit about your educational background. So you talked a little bit about high school. So what about college? Where'd you go?
Man, I went to Baylor University.
Okay. Baylor Bears.
Yeah, Baylor Bears, man. Went to Baylor University. Man, and the unique thing about me going to Baylor University, I played football and I received a full scholarship. But I was always fascinated by the game of football, Mike, and I was only a one-year starter at Willow Ridge High School in Fort Bend ISD. Freshman year, I played B team in high school. Sophomore year, sophomore team. Junior year, I played JV. So I didn't play varsity until my senior year. They had no choice but to put me on varsity. But I played so well, man. The Lord really blessed me, man, to actually play the game at a high level. I had over 50 Division I offers as a one-year start at Willow Ridge High School. I had offers from Baylor, Temple, Ohio State, TCU, and I ended up deciding to go to Baylor on a full scholarship, man. And I never regretted the decision to go to Baylor.
So why did you choose Baylor?
Man, I chose Baylor because it's a private Christian institution, but it was a university that wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. And being from Houston, I wasn't too far away from home, but I was close enough to home where I can actually grow up and become my own person and own man, and actually see how college life was like, and actually do it the right way. But then, the teachers and the environment that it afforded me was truly an honor and a blessing. And my head coach at the time, Grant Taft, he committed and told me I would graduate. He said, "You're going to come to this school, you're going to play football, but I can assure you, you will graduate and receive your degree."
And what did you receive your degree in?
A bachelor's degree in sociology and social work.
Okay. And so is that, you made a lot of comments about wanting to help kids and everything. So is that as a result of the sociology degree?
Yeah, the result of the sociology degree, but then at the same time, my mom and my dad were givers growing up. When I stayed in Third Ward when I was a kid, there was nothing for me to come downstairs in the middle of the night and there would be a homeless person in our kitchen eating.
Wow.
Nothing. So my mom and dad were always bringing people home and bringing people into our house. And so basically they were givers. I mean, so, giving is receive and turn inside out. So innately, I was a giver as well. But along the way, in regards to my journey in my life, there were people who really influenced and impacted me. And so I wanted to actually pay it forward and do the same thing. And that's why I established and started First and Goal Inc.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that in a moment. So you go from Baylor,
yep,
as a college football player, and then there's that big dream, the big NFL.
Yeah, that man.
Tell us about that journey.
Man, the journey, man, to the NFL, man, it was like a dream come true. To be a kid, man, to be enamored, to be elated by the game of football is any young man's dream if you play football. And so to have the opportunity, man, to play for the San Fran 49ers. I mean, come on, man. Not a Dallas Cowgirls fan, San Fran 49ers, you know what I mean? Dude, you got to love it. So to actually play with these San Fran 49ers, with Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Dana Stubblefield, Brian Young, Ken Norton Jr., Chris Dolman, Terrell Owens and I came in together as rookies. To play with Gary Plummer, to play Brent Jones, all these phenomenal guys. Some of the guys who I played with are now actually in the NFL Hall of Fame. Man, it was actually like a dream come true, man. So to play on that level, man, play with that team, man, was truly a blessing and honor for me, and memories and moments I never forget.
Well, I want to back up just a little bit because that's not a small accomplishment. That's a huge accomplishment. And the fact that you were able to overcome all the obstacles that you mentioned and to get to play at that level, to be amongst those people that you mentioned, that's a blessing.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, you have to put in the work to make that happen. That wasn't given to you.
No, not at all.
You have to earn the right to get there. So that says a lot about who you are as a person. And what I really admire about you is that although you had that fame, we'll call it fame, your heart is in the right place because you're wanting to make the world a better place with your programs and your books and so forth. So it's really good to hear because, a lot of times we see athletes and they've got these big egos and they're arrogant and they're very materialistic and they're not really concerned about what's going on around them. And yet here you are, a man who has taken those blessings of playing in the NFL, but yet come back to say, how can I share my gifts and talents now with the world? And I think you really summed it up when you talked about the book, Purpose Driven Life. Because I, like yourself, do believe that every human being has a divine purpose. There's something we were put on this planet specifically to do.
Right.
And it sounds to me like you found that purpose, which would tell me that fills your life with meaning and purpose and fulfillment. Would that be accurate?
Man, that'd be very accurate, man. I mean, because to get to that level, man, and to play for an organization, there was a lot of hard work and dedication, man. I mean, think about that. To be a kid who wasn't the biggest kid or the fastest kid, I had to work, man. And one thing that Coach Dennis Brantley instilled in me, that only thing I could control was uncontrollables, which was my attitude, my work ethic, and my behavior. And I was always willing to put the work and the time in. And I think that's what actually separated me from a lot of athletes. Being a one-year starter, it didn't matter. I'm going to outwork you. Going to Baylor, I had all these All-Americans and All-State players. It didn't matter. I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to outwork you. I'm going to outwork you on the field, off the field, in the classroom, in the meeting room. I'm going to outwork you. Leave no doubt. When I got to the 49ers, man, it was a lot of hard-working guys. Jerry Rice was one of the most hardest-working guys that you may ever know. And so I saw how hard he worked, so I had to work even harder, man. So the thing I realized, I had to dedicate myself to putting the time and the energy in for whatever it is I actually wanted in life. And it went along with football. So I was always willing, man, to be intentional about everything that I did on the field, and this carries over in everything that I do now.
So what position did you play?
I played cornerback.
Okay.
Played corner out there on the Autobahn, man. Trying to make plays, man. You're going to be the hero of the GOAT,
There you go. So let's see if we can go back in time a little bit. And what is your greatest memory about playing in the NFL? What's one thing that stands out for you?
Man, there's so many, Mike. I mean, I remember the very first game. the very first, when I played with the 49ers, you know, as a defensive back, you want a number either in the 20s or the 30s. I had this, at the time, to me, it was a national number playing. I was number 47, but I was quarterback. Mike, you follow me, man? But dude, it didn't matter if I had number 47 on, man. It was a dream come true, man. I was humble. I was grateful. I was thankful for the opportunity, man, to play in Candlestick Park on a Saturday afternoon against the Denver Broncos, man. I was elated. I was excited, and I was super scared. I had all these emotions going on, man.
Yeah. So now you're a lecturer and a motivational speaker, and I know that you're obviously committed to empowering youth, but we're going to talk about your book in a minute.
Yeah.
As a speaker, are you instilling the work ethic that you learned, or what are you speaking about mostly when you're speaking?
I speak on a number of different topics, and one thing I tell young people, audience altogether, in order to make your dreams become a reality in life, you have to be willing to chase your dream. And to be willing to chase your dream, you must be willing to actually work, dedicate yourself to the mission, to the goal, and truly be sold out for it. Because I base it off the simple fact alone. The simple fact alone is that I wasn't necessarily the biggest athlete. I wasn't the fastest athlete. People would always tell me, Mike, that I wouldn't accomplish doing anything in life. They say, Tyrone, you would not play professional football. They would say you're too small, you're too skinny, you got a big head, you call all the time, you're not good enough, you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not cute enough. I mean, so all these things the naysayers would say, man, I would use that as energy. And so I would tell them, if you realize there's something in your life that you want to do, you got to commit yourself to it. And if it's a dream, if it's a goal, you got to commit yourself to it by putting the work, the dedication, and having a practical plan to follow to make it a reality. And so that's more so like the premise of my focus when communicating to individuals. And at the same time, letting them know, I mean, if you want to become a better version of yourself, what are the things in your life that you need to change right now to do better and be better?
Nice. Now, so let's talk a little bit about your organization, First and Goal Incorporated.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Man, First and Goal is an organization, man, where we truly empower young people to become a better version of themselves. And it was interesting, the design and the layout, how we have our group mentoring program, which is one of the primary programs we have with the organization, which is our Care and Share group mentoring program, was really designed after the mentors who really impacted me in my life. And there was a guy by the name of Walter Abercrombie. He was a former Baylor Bear. He was a former first-round draft pick in the 80s by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was one of my mentors at Baylor. He was an academic advisor, and he was my mentor. And so while at Baylor, we had this program called the Bears That Care Program, and I would go and meet with Walter once a week as a true freshman for 1 hour. Every Thursday, Mike, I'll meet with him for 1 hour. I would talk to him about being the first of my family to go to college. Walter, am I made for college? Nobody in my family's ever went to college. Will I succeed in college? I'm an African-American male at a predominantly white institution. This is totally different from me. I would complain and download, Walter, I miss my girlfriend. I miss Houston. I miss everything about life that I'm actually detached from right now. Do you really think that college is actually for me? And I would sit down and download and dump on Walter. And through those conversations, man, he would redirect my mindset and tell me to refocus on the big picture while I'm actually at college. And so by going and sitting down and speaking with him once a week, man, it really helped me evolve into this young man who really knew that college was for him and that I could succeed in life beyond college in the NFL or a work environment or creating an organization or going to do major things in life. And he really gave me that sense of hope and direction by meeting with him once a week. And so the Care and Share Mentor program is really designed. We go into schools in a group setting and we meet with students once a week for an hour. We talking about choices, decisions, purpose, self-awareness, setting goals, conflict resolution, and the myriad of topics really focus in on what is they're dealing when they're going through as young people. And so the mission of First and Goal Inc. is to provide the necessary tools, resources, and outlets for you to be effective members of society. So we've been doing the work for the past 18 years, man. It's truly a joy and a blessing to impact the young people that we serve. And so how do people find out more about that organization? You can find out more about our organization. We have a website. It's teamfirstandgoal.org. That's TEAMFIRSTANDGOAL.org. Teamfirstandgoal.org. And there will definitely be a link below this video
to be able to access. So as you're watching this video, you don't have to memorize that. It'll be below the video. So now, so that's your organization, and you're also an author. So you've released a book called Outside the Huddle.
Yes.
Let's see, steps to developing a game plan for life. Now,
Yes.
I like that. I like that because I know that the process of overcoming all the obstacles you mentioned and now being as successful as you are and going through the NFL and now giving back to the community, you've got to have a plan. So I'm sure this book is going to provide a plan. So what I'd like to do now is I want to kind of walk through the chapters a little bit, just to kind of have you share with the audience some insights from each of those chapters, because I love how you've laid this out with these P's, these 8 P's, okay, which are 8 really powerful P's. So let's start with P number 1.
Okay.
Which, again, we touched on it a little earlier, but it's about purpose. So talk a little bit about purpose.
Man, I believe that each and every one of us in life, man, Mike, has a defined purpose, but the biggest thing is actually recognize knowing your purpose in life. And in the book, and the purpose chapter, I focus and share a story about when I played with the Washington Redskins briefly. And Darryl Green, who played in the NFL for 20 plus years, we would have these Bible studies after practice and training camp. And the title of the Bible study was actually Knowing Your Purpose.
Wow. And
so every day, Bible study, knowing your purpose. And so I'm like, man, Darryl is really talking about this purpose piece. And that was in 1999. And I remember him saying that the NFL is like a field trip. Everybody, and now you got all these guys like NFL like a field trip. What do you mean? He said NFL is like a field trip. He said, think about it. You can't stay on the field trip forever. He said, when you were younger, you would go on the field trip. Think about the field trip. When you go on the field trip, you have fun. You're excited in school, a free day away from school. You pack this massive lunch. You go on the field trip. You have fun. You do your thing on the field trip. But eventually, when the field trip is over, you have to get back on the bus, go to your home school. And once you go back to school, you get on the school bus, you go home. You cannot stay on the field trip forever. So he said the NFL is like a field trip. You cannot be here forever. He said, what if you get hurt? What if you get cut? What if you get injured? What if you get released? What is your purpose in life beyond the game? He said, we all have a purpose. And Mike, a year later is when I got injured in 2000, where I got injured, fractured, broke my T5 vertebrae, went through 8.5 months of rehab. Over those 8.5 months, I realized my purpose in life was bigger than the game of football. I realized the NFL stood for not for long.
Wow.
You're not guaranteed to play for long. So outside the NFL and beyond the game, what is your purpose in life? So I had to go back to that story in that moment in 1999 that Darryl Green really shared with me that was really impacting my life a year later in regards to thinking about what it is that God will have for me beyond the game. And I realized, knew that my purpose was really to impact the lives of young people, to use my platform as an NFL player to make the greatest impact that I can in the world that we live in.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Now, I want to put this piece out there for the people who are watching this when it comes to purpose, because this is something that I've learned that really resonates for me. I believe there are actually 2 types of purpose. There's what's called an inner purpose and an outer purpose. Your inner purpose is discovering who you really are, recognizing the gifts and talents that you were born with. Your outer purpose is taking your inner purpose and figuring out how you can use them to make the world a better place. So when we can take that inner purpose, which is knowing who we are, finding our gifts and talents, and then use them to make the world a better place, then I believe we connect to what I'll call our divine purpose. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're using your gifts and talents to go and impact the lives of these young people. And therefore, you are making the world a better place. So you are definitely living in your purpose. So let's jump to number 2. And this is where people get tripped up when you're trying to find your purpose, is the pitfalls, because you're going through life and there's going to be pitfalls. So talk a little bit about that.
Man, when you're going through life, you're going to have pitfalls. You're going to have failed experiences. And I think the biggest thing is actually recognizing how do you overcome those failed experiences in life. Anybody that has actually been successful in life, they had a lot of failures. And that's one of the things that I actually realized. And in this particular chapter, I reflect over a moment in time when I was actually a 7th grader at Missouri City Middle School, and I made an F, and I failed off the football team. I made an F and failed Miss Bigelow's math class. And I remember, Mike, that day, that moment in that time when I actually failed off the football team and made an F and came home, and I could no longer play the game of football. This game that I so cherished, this game that I so love, this controlled chaos that was really actively involved in my life was actually stripped and taken away from me by my own fault, by my own failure. And I remember that moment in time when I came home, my dad said, Tyrone, why are you so home early? I said, Dad, I made an F in math. I filled out the football team. And he was like, how do you feel? He said, do you feel good? I was like, Dad, I don't feel good. He said, what I want you to do, I want you to remember this moment, this time, this circumstance, and this situation, and remember how you feel. If you don't want to feel this way again, I need you to stop, pause, reflect, and realize and recognize what is it you need to do with your life so you don't fail again. And so in that, man, that moment, I never forgot that moment, never forgot that time. Now, along the way, there were other moments and times where I actually had failures, but I was able to overcome quickly because I remember that, hey, in it, you can grow from failed experiences. You're either going to stay stuck or you're going to be unstuck. And so when you have those failed experiences, when you're stuck, what are the necessary steps that you need to do in regards to moving from being stuck to unstuck? Because failure is a part of life.
Absolutely. And pitfalls are just part of the process. And
Yeah.
like you just got to be willing to, I'll use the term roll with the punches, but that's not exactly what I mean, but that's what it says, because life is filled with adversity.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting around it. You will experience adversities, but the key is, how do you turn those adversities into allies?
Right.
You see, I actually wrote a book called Adversity is Your Greatest Ally. And in this book, I share some lessons that I've learned in having to overcome being a high school dropout, divorce, bankruptcy, a foreclosure, a deep state of depression. So I know a thing or two about adversity.
Right, right.
At the time, I took every adversity that I went through and I flipped it and I made them allies, and I learned how to convert them. And in doing so, now I am living my version of an extraordinary life filled with purpose. So pitfalls are just part of it.
Yes.
You got to recognize they're going to come, but you got to figure out how to get past them. So let's jump to number 3.
Yeah.
Which is people. What do you mean by that?
When I refer to people, man, I think about people part of our everyday life, but I think about the capacity of influence, and I speak to the people who've actually made an influence in my life. You know, I think about Coach Dennis Brantley, who I told you was my mentor going back to 1987. I speak about like Walter Abercrombie, you know, things that he actually did in my life. I speak about Miss Betty Williams, who was a teacher in the 5th grade, who really challenged me really to recognize, no, I can actually overcome, you know, my pitfalls, my failed experiences in regards to being who I am. So I speak about really the capacity of influence. I truly believe in life, we all have a spirit influence, and it's all about how do you use your influence in regards to your outer purpose to make a greater impact in the world that we live in.
Yeah, and so I'll add this too, because I believe relationships are the glue that hold our lives together.
Yes.
And so it is those relationships that we need to build strong bonds with other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And relationships doesn't necessarily mean just intimate romantic relationships, but like relationship with your coaches, relationship with mentors, relationships with your ministers. Relationships, again, are the glue that hold our lives together. So we got to make sure that we create strong bonds with our relationship. That's an extremely important part. So let's jump to number 4, which is plan.
Yes. I mean, I think when you think about a plan, you got to actually have a goal and a strategy in mind in regards to what it is that you need to do or desire to do with your life. But in regards to that game plan, in regards to that plan, you got to have a plan. You got to be intentional about working your plan. And along the way, as you actually work that plan, if you actually have those failures, when you have a big picture in mind, you'll stay true to the plan if it's something that you really desire. So I think it's really fundamentally key to have, you know, a plan, whether it be like short-term as well as long-term goals, as well as life goals, based on whatever it is you actually want for life in regards to having a big picture plan.
Yeah, and I go back to the good book. It says, without vision, people perish.
Yes.
So for me, that's basically saying, if you don't have a plan, you've already failed.
Exactly.
you got to have a plan. That's important. So let's jump to number 5, which is process.
Yes. Man, when I think about process, I think about the road to success is always under construction. And life is not so much about where you start, it's all about where you finish. And I had to live the process, man, with all the pitfalls and all the failures and all the things I had to overcome, with people saying, Tyrone, you cannot go to college. your mom didn't finish middle school, your dad didn't finish high school, but in regards to my journey, I had to embrace the process with the fears to actually get to the capacity where I actually graduated from high school and actually went to college and actually graduated, and just realizing and knowing there's a process in regards to everything that we do. And I try to really just gleam on that in regards to really like expanding on the capacity of the process in every situation in life based on what we are as people and individuals.
Nice. And number 6, practice.
Practice. When I think about practice, man, whatever it is that you actually want in life, man, you're gonna have to commit to it. You're gonna have to actually work hard. You got to dedicate yourself to the art, to the craft, to the job, whatever it is you may have. And I speak about Jerry Rice in this chapter as well about his commitment to practice. When I played for the 49ers, Mike, Jerry Rice practiced like it was a game. Jerry Rice didn't no half speed, no two quarter, 3/4 speed. Everything, he was all out in regards to how he practiced, how he committed himself to the art, to the craft, to the work, to whatever it is he actually wanted in life. And so I feel the same way. Whatever it is you want, man, you got to commit to it, man. You got to be all in, and you got to work. You got to work on those skills. You got to work on those tools. You got to work on those techniques. You got to work on those business strategies. Those things that are going to separate you from everybody else. Because why? You put the time and dedicate yourself to the practice, whatever it is you want for your life.
Now, Jerry Rice said one of my favorite quotes, and this is something he said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but this is how I interpret it. He said, "I will do today what others won't, so I can do tomorrow what others can't."
Yeah, that's him, man.
Yeah, see, that to me sums up Jerry Rice, but I really take that to heart, because for me, as I'm, writing books or speaking or whatever, I recognize that all the time that I spend reading and researching and learning, most people won't do that.
Right.
And then taking the knowledge that I have and then being willing to put them in the form of a book or a program or a coaching program or something. What I know is that the investment that I'm making today is going to pay huge dividends in the future.
Yes.
So it comes back to what you were saying earlier about the plan.
Yes.
So my plan is to build an organization that empowers people to reach their fullest potential.
Right.
But then I got to take the necessary steps to make that thing happen. So that means I got to do some work. I got to take some action, and that's practice. I got to keep learning and listening to audio programs and becoming the best version of myself possible. And so that's how you truly succeed. So let's go ahead and jump to number 7, which is progress. What do you mean by that?
When I think about progress, man, and everybody have their own definition of progress, Mike. Progress can be defined as really succeed and accomplish a lot in life based on the goals and the dreams and the hopes and aspirations you may have. And for me, I define progress as being full circle. Progress is me coming out of my situation, right, and going to college and graduating. That's progress. Progress for me is believing and dreaming to actually go to the NFL, make it to the NFL. That's progress. But in this particular chapter, true progress is actually accomplishing a lot in life personally and coming back full circle and supporting those who supported me and helping those who helped me and reaching back and bringing somebody else along. Progress is actually get on top of the mountain, achieving something, going back down the mountain, and let's establish a program or project to really keep this thing going to pay it forward. So progress to me is defined really it's about going full circle in regards to your work, your goals, and your missions. And not settling on that, but at the same time knowing you can do more and do better to be better. And there's a particular story I shared in this particular chapter. I had opportunity to speak at Syracuse University a few years ago. And when I was speaking at Syracuse University, I defined this as progress. They fly me in, Mike, to speak at a faith, family, and football event there at the university. And the week before I got there, I got in a call. They had like a series of shootings and gun violence in South Syracuse. And so I told the director, I said, since I'm flying in town, I heard about what's going on in South Syracuse. I tell you this, when I come to speak, won't you set up something at the local Boys and Girls Club or the community center and let me come and speak to the youth and the community stakeholders, really challenge and charge and encourage them to really just, do life and do it the right way based on impact and influence. In the universities, they said, well, Mr. Smith, we're accompanying you to actually come and do something here now. We're not going to, put anything in extra for you to go do something in the community. And if you want to do that, that's solely on you. I'm like, no problem at all. Progress is me actually coming, using the platform as a former NFL player to impact those on your campus, But at the same time, I'm willing to not be paid to actually go into the community and do the same. That's progress. To let them know, man, there's more to what they're seeing and doing in regards to the community and the environment they're actually living in. So to me, progress is really coming full circle, man, and not settling for less in regards to what we do and become as individuals.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Different way to look at progress. It's unique, a slight slant to it, but I really agree with that. So let's go to number 8. Last but not least, you say pause. What is pause?
Man, Mike, I think sometimes in life, man, we have to pause. I mean, you're a very busy guy, man. You know, it was an honor, man, to hear your story, what you got going on, what you're about, and what you're doing at the Black Chamber of Commerce networking event where I connected with you. And I think, you know, in our busy lives, all that we have going on, there are moments and times, man, we got to actually have to pause and reflect. Take a self-reflection about what it is we're doing. You know, what can we do better? Just sit and be still, man, and meditate, man, on the big picture in regards to our life. And not to just go so much, but just sit and, man, reflect and think about where you are, what you need to do, how you're going to get there, but pause long enough to really just regroup as an individual.
Yeah. And I'll add another piece to that, because I truly believe that that's an important piece of success.
Yes.
The ability to pause. And for me, pausing puts me in a state of gratitude.
Truly.
Here's what I mean by that. So when I'm pausing and when I'm just reflecting and I'm not working, I'm just really counting my blessings and really grateful.
Yeah.
Number one, how far I've come, the obstacles I've overcome. And when I look at, for example, my wife, who we've been together 18 years, been married 16 years, and I know that I have this woman in my life who I absolutely love, who I know absolutely adores me. See, there's this gratitude that kind of fills me up. And it's like, no matter what I'm doing out there, speaking or writing or whatever, I have this amazing woman that I come home to. And I'm truly grateful for that. I mean, I really count my blessings, because when all that other stuff goes away, I know she's right there for me.
Right.
And she doesn't care if I'm famous or rich or whatever. She just loves me for me.
Right.
And so in my pause, I simply count my blessings.
Yeah.
So for the people who are watching this, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to do this. This is a very, very powerful process. And if you do this for 7 consecutive days, I can promise you it will change your life. And this is what I want you to do. Every day for 7 days, I simply want you to write down 5 things that you're grateful for. And make it a point, or make it a promise to yourself that you're going to do it at the same time every day, preferably right before you go to sleep. Just get a piece of paper and write down 5 things that you're grateful for. And you get to determine what that is. And it could be something as simple as, I'm grateful that I'm breathing. I'm grateful I got clothes on my back. It doesn't matter. But 5 things that you're grateful for. Because here's what I know. When we focus our attention on that which we're grateful for, the universe will support us with more things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
If we focus our attention on what we don't have and things like that, the negativity, then that kind of shows up in our lives. So an attitude of gratitude goes a very, very long way. And so when we can look back on our lives, especially the difficult times, and if we can have gratitude for even the difficult times, then we can pause and feel truly connected and at peace with something bigger than ourselves. And so again, I think, and I love how you close your book with that chapter, because to sit down, reflect, pause, re-energizes us.
Yes, it does.
Now we can go back out there and do what we know we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that being the closing chapter, because when when you're on an airplane and the stewardess is telling you if the plane's about to crash, the first thing you got to do is take care of yourself.
Right.
Before you take care of your kid, you got to take care of yourself. And the message is, we got to take care of ourselves first. And that's what the pause does.
Yeah.
The pause allows us to take care of ourselves first, and then we can go out and take care of others. So that's that's a powerful place to end in terms of your book. So how can people find your book and where can they purchase it?
Man, they can actually purchase my book on my website at tyronesmith24.com, TYRONESMITH24.com. So they can purchase it on my website. It's actually cheaper to purchase on my website versus purchasing through Amazon, but you can get my book on Amazon as well.
Okay, so I'll definitely put a link below so that people can have access to that amazing book. So I want to give you an opportunity now. So your closing thoughts to the audience that, you know, we've covered a lot of material, and I think your book really kind of summarizes it all. So what are your closing thoughts to the audience?
Man, my closing thoughts to the audience is get to a point in place and space if you don't know what it is to actually find your purpose. And I like what you said, Mike, about the inner purpose, number one, then the outer purpose. And once you realize and recognize, understanding of what your purpose is in life, live your life, number one, in such a way that you're intentional. You know, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And then thirdly, maximize all opportunities that actually come before you in life, because those opportunities will come when you're intentional in regards to living a purpose-filled life. And when you do that, man, you'll know that you're a lot to be grateful, thankful, and humble for in regards to what is your call to do as individuals as well as people.
Nice. Great way to close out. So again, Tyrone, man, I want to wish you continued success in all of your endeavors. And I know you'll continue to be a powerful, positive influence in the world. I know you will continue to be blessed. So it's been an honor and a privilege having you on the show. And again, thank you for spending 45 minutes or so with us today. And we really appreciate you sharing.
Man, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, man. Looking forward to connecting with you again as well.
Absolutely. So this has been another episode of Shatter the Stereotypes, where we empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. We'll see you next episode. Take care.